right, let's go. How's it going? I'm Justin of Just In Time Development, but that is a mouthful, so y'all can call me Doc. Welcome to the start of one heck of a journey we are going to go on together. This is episode 1 of my series, From Prototype to Release. We have a lot to cover and nowhere near enough time, so let's get started. Just get it done. Like I said, I'm Doc, a professional game developer with over 10 years of experience. While my day job is very streamlined, that also means I must keep honing my skills. To do so, I am making a game at home from the ground up and doing everything. But solo development is a little nebulous, with 0 deadlines and a lot to learn. This can lead to analysis paralysis, or just never delivering. Instead, I'm going to use this dev blog to push myself, and hopefully make some fans. If it saves you some time on your own project, or unblocks your games, all the better. Let's start with, what is my game? My current title is what I would call a Mega Man X-Stroidvania, a Mega Mech-Stroidvania, a Mega Man X Metroidvania style hybrid game. After an intro section, the player will be introduced to 8 targetable bosses. Like the Mega Man and X series, these bosses will reside at the end of a themed level. And also like the Blue Bomber games, upon defeat, these bosses will reward the player with a new boss power. Beat all 8 bosses, and the player can freely challenge their leader for one of the game's earlier endings. However, where this concept opens a little wider, each boss level is extended off of a central hub, and connects to each other and several other zones. Each of these boss powers also acts as a soft or hard key to the Metroidvania-style locks located around the world. As the player defeats these main bosses, they will gain the ability to get outside of these initial 8 levels and try to find out what is really going on. Even more power-ups, bosses, and challenges exist in the external areas. Additionally, depending on which weapons the player acquires, they may be able to reach the true ending without collecting all 8 of the initial abilities on offer. New players may not have the knowledge of the map and mechanics to do so, but advanced players will be rewarded with new sequence breaks and potentially additional secrets for trying to break out of the Mega Man loop early. Well, that sounds like a lot, and it is. On paper, there are at least 50 zones and nearly as many bosses needed to make this concept feel like the source inspiration has properly merged. Too few, and we collapse before the Metroidvania opens. Too many, and the Mega Man X scaffolding becomes too small of an influence on the overall game feel. Will I have to pull back on some of this? Maybe. But this is a bucket list game for me. I'm not trying to rush to market. I'm not trying to follow the wave of Metroidvania popularity. I am mainly using this as a way to build my skills and release a game I have always wanted to play. Will it be good? I hope so. Will it be fun making it here with all of you? I think so. Will we learn a lot from me making mistakes along the way? Absolutely. Let's see where I am so far. This is Heliosol. Look, he dances. And he's my main character, inspired by the Greco-Roman titan of the sun, Helios, or Sol. There are just so many conflated myths and history for these gods and titans across multiple cultures that I'm just gonna steer into the amalgam. Helios and Sol became Heliosol, the sun's champ. I have him running, jumping, and attacking, along with some of the staples of the genre. But this is just a prototype, and we're gonna turn this into this. What else I got? The main bosses are mostly fleshed out too, starting with a theme they all share. For Mega Man, it was robots with elemental powers. With Mega Man X, it was robot animals with elemental powers. Element being very loosely applied here. What kind of element is ring? Sonic element? For me, I'm thinking gods with day jobs who wrestle. Each of my bosses, as well as my main characters, are leaders of their worlds. In this universe, these worlds were one by one added to a coalition of planets that moves through the universe in a galaxy-sized ship, the Olympus Arc. As a leader is brought into the fold, they are gifted the power of a god and brought into the Leadership Council. Once a century, this council battles for the title of Prime God. Heliosol here was once the Titan of the Sun, controlling the day cycle of the ship. While his siblings still do their jobs, he has long since found an apprentice and retired to pursue his true passion of being a DJ. So he is a former god / Titan of the Sun who is now a DJ who wrestles in the Tournament of the Gods. That tournament acts as our inciting incident. When one of Heliosol's siblings is injured from a cheating scheme by the god Damptheon, Heliosol will be forced out of retirement and back into the fray. That god Damptheon acts as our robot masters. This gives me a reason to have gods and mortals while bending a few of the stories and disconnecting from some of the more problematic myths. Zeus was a terribly immoral entity after all. This also lets me reward the players who know the actual myths with respectful nods, and I can hit on some of the lesser used motifs in the theming, like the Hecatoncheires. As for design on these bosses and their mechanics, I have most of their personalities, concept designs, and day jobs worked out. For example, my Mercury and Hermes mashup is Mercumes. Sticking with the music vein, he is lead speed guitar of a band on his homeworld. And I'm aiming for a very 2000s early rock aesthetic. So a god of speed who rocks and wrestles. Leaning into that wrestling theme for the tournament is where I'm going to crank up the zany on my personalities and super moves. Speaking of which, I also have pages upon pages of mechanics, abilities, enemies, traps, and progression notes, each of which will get some time to shine here on the channel. As you will see in the next dev blog, I have most of the main zones designed. Mercumes, for example, has a theme of an outdoor concert venue up a mountain for his level, fleshed out with 3 areas leading to the boss, and most of the connections to other zones worked out on paper. Currently, I'm working on fleshing out the outer zones beyond the Mega Man X level structure. On top of all that, I am skilling up in several areas, from art to sound to social media. Hey YouTube, how am I doing? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell for round 2. Now, I get to flesh out the game. I'll be starting a fresh Unity project, separate from my prototype. Any code that I want to pull in, I will be forcing myself to package up and make sure I inspect for better code practices. This will force my production version to be fresh, and instead of all the maybe I will need this code that I had in the prototype, it can be narrowed down to exactly what I need, because so much of my design has been focused in. With all of that designed, and all of this still to do, I think I need to cut this video and get to work. I'm Justin of Just In Time Development, but you can call me Doc. I do have a plan, but now it's time to just get it done.